Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Just waiting a few more minutes for others to join us. And then we will get started with today's open discussion very soon. All right, everybody. Welcome to another open discussion and various topics. Let us begin with reciting the prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll move into our Q&A session. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, everybody, welcome once again to another open discussion and various topics class. As per usual, feel free to ask any questions you may have in the chat. If you're joining us via YouTube, or if you're also on Zoom, then you can use the raise hand feature to pose your questions audibly, and we will do our best to answer those for you. Do we have any questions or comments to start off? Last Friday, we covered chapters 1 and 2 of the 14 Lessons of Yogi Philosophy, written by Yogi Ramacharaka. You can go back and watch that video in our study sessions playlist. And you can also go to our website, mysticknowledge.org, to download an ebook copy for free from our ebook library. So really quickly, let me show you where you can go to access the ebook. So here on your screen, you can see our mystickknowledge.org website. And under ebook library -1, you see the second text there under the section dedicated to Yogi Ramacharaka, William Walker Atkinson, is the 14 Lessons in Yogi Philosophy. We're currently reading through that. That's the second book in our study session series. The first was Ancient Language of the Soul, Mystic Knowledge of Mantra. You can also pick up that book here on the website under the new book sale. Read through it. And any questions or comments you have, you can bring them back to our Sunday open discussions. As we're presently working through the text, today we are on chapter 8, part 2 of chapter 8, and we will look at the sections. We will finish up the solar pranic energy flow, and then we will go into the terrestrial energy flow, pranic energy flow. And then next week, we will finish up chapter 8 with the human energy flow of the pranic energy. I think what we'll do for the remainder of the year, thinking, because there's 4 chapters left, 9, 10, 11, and 12 of the ancient language of the soul. So in November, we'll finish up 9 and 10. And then in December, we'll do 11 and 12. Probably going to move a little quicker through the text so that we can finish up by the end of the year, and try not to highlight every single paragraph, but restrict the highlights just to the most salient points. And then you can go back and read the text to get more information, as well as watch the study session series for the ancient language of the soul. I think we dedicated 7 or 8 sessions to ancient language of the soul. It took to read through the entire text. All right. So do we have any questions? Any questions? All right, well, as we go through the text, you can feel free to pose any questions you may have in the chat, and we will answer those for you. You can, throughout the reading, I'm going to be moving between the Kindle version, the, the PDF version to more clearly display some of the tables. And I'll also interject a few handouts to help illustrate the information and help us to understand better what's being discussed in these two sections on solar tattvic flow and terrestrial tattvic flow. But again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to post them in the chat. It doesn't necessarily have to correlate to what we're reading through right now. It could be anything metaphysics, mysticism, yoga related. And we'll do our best to answer those for you. So last time, if you recall, we looked at the galactic tattvic flow. And we looked at the first part of the solar tattvic flow of energy. Let's continue with solar. And we stopped here at where I marked in blue. So the ancient tantric text suggests that this tattvic matter from the sun has 360 tattvic rays or degrees being radiated from the sun. Right, so before we looked at the tattvic energy coming from the absolute, propagating throughout the universe to the galaxies, and then now we're looking at that energy as it reaches the stars, the suns. Specifically, we're looking at our own solar system. So as the energy reaches our sun, how the sun takes that energy, conditions it, and then propagates it, releases it throughout the entire solar system. And then that energy in turn is received by each of the celestial bodies, all the planets within the solar system, manipulated, absorbed, manipulated, and then pushed back out again to the life forms on each respective planet, if they are there. These tattvic rays builds itself up and arranges itself in various forms to create various energy signatures that allows levels of life expression, such as plants, moons, vegetation on the planets, animal life on the planets, and humanoid life on the planets. The tattvic signatures seem to be a result of the pranic motion when it's being radiated from the sun and the motion of it as it interacts with the planets and life forms on the planets. As we're reading through this, keep in mind what we read on Friday in those first two chapters of the 14 lessons. Right, in the 14 lessons, and especially in those first two chapters, we looked at the first, I believe, of the 7 principles. I think we looked at the first 5 or 6. keep that in mind, and also keep in mind the discussion in the 14 lessons regarding the realms. And while we're reading this text, and if you remember back in previous chapters, the author, Sir Nehemiah Davis, talks about how it's all one energy. And as that energy is modified, it takes on different names, or well, we attribute the different modifications, we give the different modifications different names to help us to understand it, but it is all one energy. And being the modifications in the different modes of motion, which we'll get into later, express different characteristics or traits of this one energy. But keep that in mind as we look at it, because when Nehemiah he gives descriptions of those different modifications and their behaviors, their characteristics, and their effects on creation. But always keep in the back of your mind that it is all one energy. There are 5 major motions that continues to repeat itself and create a perpetual motion that has a long-term effects on the manifested energy patterns or energy signatures that are radiated from the sun and live in the sea of tattvic matter or solar plasma that surrounds the sun. This solar plasma responds to the following rotation patterns and movements. Number one is the constant rotational motion of the sun as it radiates the prana or cosmic energy toward the Mother Earth and the planets. 2, another motion is the movement of the sun through the galaxy, or the rotation of the galaxy through the universe, which has a repeated effect on the energy patterns. 3, the third perpetual motion that would seem to have an effect on the energy patterns is the rotation of the planets around the sun. 4, the fourth perpetual motion that we most speak of, because it directly affects our immediate energy patterns, is the rotation of the Earth, creating the north and south energy patterns, which defines the positive and negative energy flow of energy. 5th, the 5th perpetual motion that affects the energy patterns of the life form here on Earth is the rotation of the moon as it orbits the Earth. This solar logos, the sun, has its physical manifestation and its subtler physical manifestation that extends hundreds of millions of miles from the sun's physical manifestation. All the planets orbiting around the sun exist within this subtle physical manifestation. This is the solar plasma field of the sun, or in Sanskrit terms, the solar tattvic matter of the sun. And so what's being described here is in physical science, we will separate the physical from the subtle. But in the mystic or occult sciences, that division is not really made. So when they're looking at the sun in the ancient tantric text, they're looking at the entire body of the sun, both the subtle and the gross physical. So we say the sun and then its solar plasma rays field as the plasma emanating from the sun, but not actually part of the physical sun. Here in the text, it's all looked as one entity, and so that all the planets that orbit the sun exist within the body of the sun, all right, and within that solar plasmic field. And as the sun rotates, that is one mode of motion that affects the first one. There is constant rotation and motion of the sun. It affects the radiation of the prana, the cosmic energies in one way. Then you have the motion of the sun as it orbits the central sun within the galaxy. Then you have the orbits of the planets as they go around the sun. That's another effect of the cosmic energies. Then you have the rotation of the planets themselves, but specifically we're studying the Earth because we're looking at our expression of life. That's causes another effect on the energy. And then again, the orbit of the moon around the Earth. That's the fifth description here. Now, each one of the planets has its own tattvic signature patterns and expresses these tattvic patterns according to its position within the sea of the solar tattvic matter. Each planet has its own cosmic energy configuration, which is based on where the sun gave birth to that planet or the position that the planet took within the sea of solar tattvic matter upon its incarnation and its orbital journey it takes around the sun during its incarnation as the sun makes its journey around the galaxy's central sun or rotational pattern it takes around the sun. For more information, I want to stop here. For more information on the life cycles of the planets, because well, not exactly in the way that we do it, but as we go through incarnatory cycles, the planets go through incarnatory cycles as well. Very good description and illustration and explanation of the cycles is given in the 9 Freedoms. Text available, both text and transmissions and lectures given on it by Dr. George King is available from the Aetherius Society. And you can also look back on some of our classes. You might remember the exact title of the series. I don't know if you might remember, but Nehemiah goes into the incarnatory past and present and some future of the Mother Earth specifically. Talks about the history of the Mother Earth, which state or she is in her present incarnation, and how many more incarnations she has left. And also he describes some of the other planets too, the path that the planets follow as they spend some time as a planetary body before they move on into evolution to take on the next form, be it a star or other form. So I'd invite you to take a look at those lectures. Do you remember which lectures it was that? I don't remember the series exactly.
It was when we went over the yokes.
Yes. So the yokes or yugas are in the Hindu and Sanskrit calendar, it breaks down the time cycles all the way from a in-breath and out-breath of Brahma to even down to the cycles of our daily lives, if you really want to get down into the nitty and gritty of it. But it talks about the cycles of the planets, cycles for the stars, cycles for the galaxies, cycles for creation. So we've heard that Nehemiah mentioned several times in the past that we're currently in the Kali Yuga, Yuga, Y-U-G-A. That's what he's referring to, the current cycle time period that we're in. So if you go back and look on the lectures about the cycles, you'll get more information on what's mentioned here in a couple of sentences. Meaning the birth cycle, incarnatory cycle of the planets. Pick back up here. The rotational configuration of each planet within the solar system produces particular qualities that creates hundreds of energy patterns that places certain pressures on the life forms within this sea of solar tattvic matter to define the tattvic limitations that make up their physical and subtler manifestation. All right, so in that sense, it's going to go into more detail later on. But what he's talking about is that I mentioned earlier, it is all one energy that propagates throughout the entirety of creation. But what differentiates the life form, the humanoid life form, from an animal life form to a plant, to a mineral, is what's mentioned here, right? That these certain pressures on the life forms within this sea of solar tattvic matter. We'll go into more information on what those certain pressures are later on in the text, but keep that in mind. The tattvic strings of matter seem to have intelligent signature patterns that give and maintain life to various energy forms. These strings of tattvic vibrational signatures assist in slowing down the cosmic energy prana within the chakras to allow various denser degrees of manifested energy patterns or forms that the soul can use as tools of self-expression. Right, so all these life forms have their own respective chakra systems. And we'll look at more detail about the chakras, but this energy flows through the chakras, and the soul uses that energy to mold and shape the particular tool for self-expression or life form that it is operating through in order to gain experience at that particular or in that particular time sequence. Right, so be it an animal, a lion, a dog, a cat, a duck, a fish, a human, a camel, a tree, they're all tools that the soul utilizes to gain experience at that particular, in that particular time sequence. But it is all, again, this one energy flowing through and animating all expressions. Okay, so this part here, I didn't highlight because I didn't want to cover every single line in this open discussion time, because that's what the study sessions for, or for your own private readings for. But on Friday, where we looked at Yogi Chakra, 14 lessons, we talked about the levels of mind, and we looked at the state where the I and the I am is recognized, right? This is also gone into in great detail in Sir Arthur Avalon's book. I believe Imai is quoting from The Serpent Power here, the I and the I am. And it said a good way to think about is the difference between I and I am, that recognition or achieving of the self-consciousness is the I says, I know. The I am says, I know that I know. Okay, so that difference in self-awareness is what's talked about in the 14 lessons, but is also briefly touched here as we looked at the modification of these energies and how they relate to us in a both terrestrial and a human flow of that energy. In all of Nehemiah's teachings, Nehemiah Davis's teachings, he brings it back to the central theme of the mystic constitution of man. And I believe one of the main reasons he does that is to make these teachings relatable to us and to help us understand and connect the dots in a way that we can both own this knowledge information and not just leave it out there as abstract theory, but take it within ourselves, apply it to our lives, and make our yoga practice a lifestyle, for ourselves, right? So it is not just something we do or look at in our quiet hours or when we're able to sit down and read through the text, but it is a way of thinking, a way of acting, a way of speaking, a way of being, right? So when we're reading this, always keep in your mind that it may seem abstract and even a little confusing when you first approach it, but it all comes back to me. It all relates to me. This is self-knowledge, if you will. Because in its essence, I am that which is. So, and that is all there is. So keep that in mind as we go through these, all the classes, all the teachings, all the texts, all the lectures. It is all comes back to me, the mystic constitution, my mystic constitution. Okay. So we're looking at the 360 topic vibrational signatures, the 360 rays. It says the 360 tantric rays also have a devic presence within each ray. Devas assist in manipulating tantric rays that are embedded in the chakras. The energy that the devas use in order to manipulate the tantric rays within these chakras are the cosmic energies that has been conditioned by mind substance radiating from the manifested life form of the chakras in question. The thought forms and actions of each individual create a karmic signature that expresses energy patterns that serves to place limitations on its manifested portion of life. The worm is a worm because it believes it is a worm. The dog is a dog because it believes it is a dog. It is the mind, as Nehemiah has taught us, that molds and shapes prana, and molds and shapes energy. It is mind that molds and shapes the energies into the form that at this time sequence is identified as Dwayne McLean, as myself. It is the mind that molds and shapes the energies into the form that we know at present as identified as Nehemiah Davis or as yourself. But really, it is only, as was mentioned in earlier chapters, one life, one energy, one identity, one God. And we are just different expressions of that one energy, of that one life, of that one manifested reality. Devas are loyal servants of the lords of karma. They are a race of beings whose sole purpose is to strictly work within the laws of karma. By manipulating the energies brought about by the thought and actions of mankind and all other life, the Devic kingdom takes the energies that have been conditioned by the thoughts and actions of mankind and manipulate those energies in order to create and maintain the environment that we live in strictly according to the laws of karma. So in these two paragraphs, there's a lot of information being presented. Although briefly touches on the devas, and entire lectures can be given just these two subjects alone. If we go back to the first paragraph here, we're talking about the chakras of the cosmic has been conditioned by the mindfulness rating from the manifested life forms, the thought forms and actions of the individual create a karmic signature that expresses energy patterns that serve to place limitations on its manifested portion of life. Last week, and maybe in the week prior, we answered a question about how our thoughts and actions affect our karmic patterns. And in previous open discussions, we looked at two handouts in particular where we discussed the effects on our aura that our thoughts have. I'm looking through them right now. Particularly, we looked at some skaras, right? We looked at the chitta and the manas. Now, I know I'm using Sanskrit terminology here, but they should be familiar to you because we've covered them several times. But just in case they're not, let me pull up those handouts so we can briefly go over again what Nehemiah is referring to here, and then go back to the text. I apologize, I do not have it queued up already. I wasn't planning on going into it, so that's okay. Just give me a few seconds and I will find that particular handout. I believe it is the Karma Yoga one, right? No. Is it this one? Yes, it's this one. Can you see that? No. This one. Karma means action. And so this is what we're looking at in the text. And we want to get to a deeper understanding of how our thoughts, as it states here, the thought forms and actions of each individual create a karmic signature that expresses energy patterns that serves to place limitations on its manifested portion of life. All right, let's see what that means. Karma means action, also consists of good, bad, and a mixture of both. Karma is action and reaction is opposite but equal. All actions are either white magic, all right actions, black magic, all wrong actions, gray magic, a mixture of right and wrong actions. Intention describes the type of power behind any action. So good intentions sets in motion good karma, bad intentions sets in motion bad or negative karma. Again, these distinctions or separations or duality is for us to understand. Okay. We say good and bad karma, positive and negative karma, just to help us to understand it. But in reality, that duality does not exist. Karma, every action equals some good actions and some positive actions. In basic man, every good actions equals a higher percentage of good actions plus a lower percentage of bad actions. And again, in basic man, if every bad actions equals a higher percentage of bad actions plus a lower percentage of bad good actions. And right karmic action is actions without intentions or expectations for reward, is the highest percentage of good actions karmically plus a 0% of bad actions karmically. Positive love energy and negative love energy, the difference is attachment and non-attachment or unattachment. So positive energy multiplies itself by 4 when faced by resistance of its target until it breaks through the resistance. Negative love attachment, negative basic love manifests itself as attachment, which multiplies man's desire, which creates the actions of greed, possession, jealousy, anger, and hatred. So on the karmic energies of the aura, this is where now we begin to see the direct effects of our positive and negative karmic actions, thoughts, and so forth. We look at some skaras, which is represented by these green circles. And the lines here represent the various valence levels of the aura. they move from the inner to the outer, right? So from the inner, sorry, switch back to this, go from here and then propagate outwards. So let's start in here. In the center, you have stored samskaras from past thoughts and actions from life experiences. And as we go through life's different experiences or situations may activate or wake up some samskaras, or conditions will awaken certain samskaras, and those samskaras will be driven to the surface by actions and present conditions. As they get closer and closer to the surface, those samskaras begin to and then manifest themselves. As you sow, so shall you reap. Samskaras that fuels the father's skills, samskaras that fuels professional skills, samskaras that fuels athletic skills, partying skills, social skills, what have you. Those are all impressions left on the aura from past thoughts and actions, right? So, as we mentioned in previous classes, you know, the physical vehicle, the gross physical body, and even the astral body are discarded at death, physical death, but the aura continues, life after life after life after life after life. And all of the experiences, thoughts, and actions we carry with us in the aura, life after life after life, and they manifest as mentioned here, like our skills, our attributes, our personality, even so far as the formations of our physical and astral vehicles. Here we look at the three kinds of karma. Sanchita karma is accumulated karma from past thoughts and actions. Prabhahara karma, please forgive my pronunciations, is your present karmic state of being, the karmic energy configuration that make up your present subtle bodies and physical bodies. And Vrattamana karma, karma acquired during the present lifetime and that will bear fruit in the future. And so we are always, both Nehemiah and Dr. George King has taught us, we are always constantly manipulating our karma. And every action, every word spoken, every thought produced will have a direct effect on both our present and future incarnations, just as our past thoughts and actions are having a direct effect on our present incarnation. And the three fundamental types of karmic actions. You have sattvic karma, actions performed without attachment by a person who's not looking for a return or reward on their actions. Rajas karma, actions taken in a state of embodied consciousness, the jiva, the individual state of I, pure attachment, ownership of maya. And tamas karma, the actions of individual that is deluded and confused and have no concern for the moral or spiritual intent in their actions. All right, you should recognize these three terms, sattvic, rajas, and tamas, from discussion in the text previously regarding the gunas. So if you remember the qualities of the gunas, you'll see it is also reflected here in the types of karmic actions. And a couple questions here. Well, before that, Nehemiah, did you want to expand on that or correct something that I said?
Yeah, one of the main things is that samskaras they come up, they rise to the top of the aura and influence the mind and actions when you create a situation that that empowers them, because samskaras are past thoughts, or like they say, it's scars on the aura. But what it really is it's embedded megabytes of energy that you store up from your past thoughts and actions. And then when you come into an environment that accentuate those past uh, thoughts or configurations of thoughts and actions, then you give that samskara life to live again. If you haven't conquered uh, those actions, whether it's negative actions or positive actions. So that's what brings samskaras up. Like I always said, you can always raise the samskaras up by music. If you have a particular song that carved out a time or past in your life that bring you sorrow, happiness, or whatever, you turn that song on, and all those floods of thoughts and feelings come back. When that song was prevalent in your life. Also, a particular place uh, have an effect on you once you enter. Let's say if you left your hometown, and once you enter that hometown again, all those past samskaras come to play on you that you embedded during the time you was there, or classroom or church. So that's how samskaras live and breathe.
A couple of questions here. Is if the master has no aura, do they have no karma? Says, I heard it said that the adept has a huge aura, but the master has no aura.
When they talking about a master, they talking about an ascendant master. One of the things that an ascendant master does, or a master that is close to ascension, they pull the aura into their etheric structure, and it becomes a part of them. They have a risen body, in other words. So they don't need to pollute the earth with their uncontrolled thoughts, because they have control over their thoughts. One of the things our aura does is, because of the state of mind that we're in, it constantly push out negative and positive thoughts. A avatar who will pull the power up to the Kundalini power all the way up to the Christ center. Once they get into the Christ center, they can as Dr. King said, Dr. George King said, they can easily move it up to the crown chakra and move through ascension. So at that point, they have total control over what's called a command center in the tantric satra and mantra satra teachings. They call Arjuna, which is the Christ center, the command center. Once they gain control over that psychic center or that chakra, then they can manipulate karma to the point where all their actions become positive karmic actions. They do not make a move without doing that. And one of the ways they do that is to utilize the full strength of the auric body and pull all that aura into the etheric structure, and they dictate what they would do and how they would think. I hope that answers your question.
And there's a question here, or a small suggestion. I think the third kind of karma is Agami Karma. And is that I've heard that term before, is the type of karma in the present, that you mentioned here. Are you familiar with that term, Himai?
I use the terms of from serpent power and from I use the terms from serpent power and from Swami Sivananda and Vivekananda.
Another question here. Visualize the breath being channeled. Okay, it's kind of two questions. What are some practices to help people with drug abuse and other addiction?
Well, there's many type of practices to do to help you with that. I really can't go into it now, but one of the types is Raja Yoga, right? Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga helps you with that, and Mudra Yoga, which is mixed with a little mantra yoga as well. So if you write me, I can go more into detail with it.
And the second part of the question says, when breathing, or I think when in pranayama is what they mean, pranayama practice, does the man and woman visualize the breath being channeled the same way?
Yes. I know some people say no, but I say yes.
And then finally for this handout, I just wanted to briefly look at different samskaras, positive and negative, and illustrated are the effects these different types of samskaras can have on the aura. So for example, on the left-hand side, negative samskaras clouds and contaminates the auric bodies and limits sensory perception and spiritual development. So that's with all these ripples in the aura on this illustration here on the left-hand side. You say positive scars clears the auric fields and enhances sensory perception and spiritual development. As you can see on the illustration on the right-hand side, there's less ripples and distortions in the aura. The auric body is the vehicle the soul uses to move from one life cycle to the next while gaining experience on the various planes of existence. The physical plane is used for the soul to gain the gross physical experience on the physical realms of existence. The astral planes is used by the soul to gain mental experiences on the subtle physical realms of existence. The accumulation of thought and actions on the physical determines the astral existence that you will live through on the subtle physical worlds after death. The accumulated thoughts and actions of the physical and astral planes determine the next physical life you will live through. So again, that's just to enhance what those two paragraphs we just read in, or those two highlights we just read in the text. question here. If we sit, hold on. Let me bring this closer. Okay. If we sit in lotus pose for an hour and experience great pain towards the end of the hour, but do not move, are we burning up bad samskaras? Or bad, he said karma, then said, are we burning up some negative samskaras?
Like I said, that depends on the state of your mind. Your intentions is the thing that molds and shapes that thought, and that thought molds and shapes. It configures the actions, and the actions solidifies themselves physically, driven by by the initial mental energy. So that really depends on you. Now, the lotus or the asanas that we talk about, they are considered seats of power in just plain English. It means that it is the godlike type position that you place your body in order to receive the power and energies from the cosmos or from God. So, and what it does, it puts restrictions on the body in order to allow a particular energy configuration that you can receive from the great Mahabindus of the Earth, the solar system, the galaxy, and the universe. So just by sitting in that position, what you're doing is sacrificing your personal time and whatever other personal stuff you have to do. So that burns up negative karma right there, because by you having the knowledge and understanding of why you're going to do this, and you have the right intentions, not just to gain power, but to become an instrument for the higher ones, then you are burning up negative karma by submitting yourself and giving up the time of the day that you could be out doing something stupid. So, that's the big difference. And that's why we have to go through those actions. Remember, karma is right action. Karma is also Jnana Yoga, because you need the knowledge of what right actions to take in order to make those right actions. So it's between Jnana and karma that gives you all the other yogas, which is asana or mudra, which will have you to sit there for an hour in order to gain the power. After a while, the pain will subside to allow you to do what you need to do. But once you finish, the pain probably will come back. And once you get out of that position, that lotus position, until your body becomes used to it, it's going to hurt. And then even after your body becomes used to it, years later, you will suffer for twisting your body up like that. So that's just the negative karma that we built up as a group consciousness. I hope you understand that.
And so going back to the question regarding the auras of the master and the adept, and Nehemiah's response in that through our aura, our wrong thoughts and actions, we pollute. In the same way that the sun takes in the energy, conditions it, and pushes it back out, the earth and the moon takes in that toxic energy, conditions it and pushes it back out, so too do we. We take in that energy, that chitta, condition it with our thoughts, turning it into manas, and release it back out into the environment. And it is that energy is being referred that the Devic kingdom in this paragraph here takes in and uses to create the external environment. So in the same way we, through our thoughts and actions, creates our internal environment and thereby molds and shapes our bodies, devas take that energy and molds and shapes and creates the environment that we live in. So that's what this paragraph was talking about. And the devas work strictly according to that law. So like in the illustration that Dr. George King gave in his lecture on the Devic kingdom, is the devas build a house with the bricks that we provide them, and be they good bricks or bad bricks, they'll be mixed together. And if those bad bricks cause the house to topple upon itself, then we are responsible for that, because it is we who provided the energy to the devas that they use to build our environment. Okay, let me move a little bit quicker. We still have the terrestrial flow to get to, and we're still in the sun. This highlight here is the mighty sun being the central impulse for our solar system, sustains all life in the solar system with those pranas that radiate through it from the absolute. And here we look at table 7, which is difficult to look at in that text, but we can see it in the PDF version. And this table has the 5 major pranas. The Mahabhutas carries the Sanskrit names describe the etheric qualities of those pranas. So we have the Mahabhutas on the left-hand side, Akasa. Its nature is soniferous. The realm is ether. Type of motion is space. And its quality, etheric or sound. Then you have Vayu. Tangiferous is its nature. Its realm is ether. Type of motion, locomotion. Its quality, air and touch. And Tejaz, its nature is luminiferous. Again, its ether, its type of motion is expansion. Its quality is fire and colors. Then Apas is gastiferous. Again, also in the realm of ether, type of motion is contraction. Its quality is water and taste. And Prithivi is odoriferous, its nature. Its type of motion is cohesive resistance, and its quality is earth and smell. Then we'll also look at table 8, which are the petals, the tattvas, and sensitive matter and granting knots. Let's go there. That should be right here. Yes. Can everybody see that? Is that too small? So here we're looking at the chakras, the type of tattva or quality, and the conversion point or the granting knots that corresponds to those centers. At the Rudra Granti knot, we have both the base of the spine, Muladhara, and the sex center, Svadhisthana chakras. At the base has 4 petals, and its tattvas is the Bhuta, or the earth quality, 56 tattvic rays, and belongs to the fire, or Agni Kanda. Sex center with 6 petals, its tattva is Agni, sensitive matter quality is fire, and has 62 tattvic rays. Then at the Vishnu Granthi, you have the solar plexus and the heart center, the Manipura and the Anahata centers. The solar plexus has 10 petals. Its tattva is apas, or water. And it has 52 tattvic rays belonging to the sun or Surya group. Also, the Anahata, the heart center, is 12 petals. Its tattva is Vayu, or air, 54 tattvic rays. And then at the Brahma Granthi, at the throat center and the Krai center, Vishuddha and Ajna. At throat center is 16 petals. Its tattva is Akasa, or ether, with 72 tattvic rays, and also belongs to the Moon Chandra group, as well as the Krai center with 2 petals. Its tattva is Manas. Its quality is mind, 64 tattvic rays, as well as to the Chandra group. And that table outlines the chakras, their Sanskrit names. In addition to the names of chakras, it describes the 6 energy configurations within each chakra. All right, and that completes the solar section. Do we have enough time to finish terrestrial? No, because I wanted to go into the handouts about the terrestrial part, and I don't think we'll get to all of them. Well, we can start. Before we do it, do we have any questions? Questions or comments? Got the chat here. Okay. Terrestrial flow of prana. Once the pranas reach the earth, the akasa prana aspect acts as a mother aspect. It surrounds the earth and conditions it to receive the other pranas. As the earth rotates on its axis and orbits around the sun, the pranas expresses the positive and negative aspects. The positive prana radiates through the earth during the daytime while the sunlight is visible. And during the nighttime, the sunlight is reflected from the moon and other planets, creating the negative reflective aspect of the prana. Positive prana travels from north to south and east to west through the earth and its surface. The negative prana travels south to north and west to east through the earth and its surface. You see that illustration there. It'd be hard to see. So I'm going to switch to the PDF. Get a better idea. Oh, is that one here? No, I don't have that one queued. So here it's referring to the prana, the positive east to west, north to south, and the negative south to north, west to east. The rotational flow of energy that the earth receives from the sun helps to create the existing realms of the earth, subtle and physical. From this, all life on earth was able to form and feed off to sustain their life. The pranas develops 2 centers of action of gross matter that assist the soul in forming the human body. The centers of action of gross matter gather around the northern and southern centers. The northern center develops into the brain, the southern into the heart. The point at which positive and negative pranic radiation converge or form which they appear to diverge is a central line. The central lines are also the Sushumna, the positive prana which travels in a right direction and negative prana travels in a left direction, together creating neutral flow of prana called Sushumna. The flow of prana or cosmic energies on the surface and inner core of Earth actually describes the realms of existence. Each concentration of flow of prana produced from the Mahabindus manipulates the Nada Shakti powers that are radiated from the sun, creating the various realms of existence. The earth collects Shakti power and builds its subtle and physical realms of existence through the manifestation of several forms of cosmic fire brought forward from the logos of the earth. Again, for more information about this, look back at lectures Nehemiah gave on the Mother Earth. You can also, there's some lectures that Dr. George King gave on the Mother Earth too. Some information is referring to the primary initiation of Earth and the actual entity. Because yes, visit the Logos of Earth. You can get that text, and there's a lecture on that as well. It goes into really great detail about the entity and the life force and the being of the Logos herself. There was also a lecture where some lessons that Nehemiah gave on the history of man and how the bodies were formed, particularly even going further back, Adamic man, and how like the sweat-born, these are the teachings he was giving on the theosophical lectures and the history of Earth and history of humanity. It goes into detail as well about the fires of the Earth as well. So you can go back and visit those lectures and get more information. The physical aspect of this and some of the subtle physical aspects can be seen in nature every day. The plant life collects sunlight using this power to extract the raw minerals of the earth, turning it into nutritional substances that is used to nourish the animal and human life. The plant life also manufactures oxygen and releases it into the atmosphere. At the same time, it absorbs the carbon dioxide from the animal and human life. This process helps to build, form, and maintain the life on Earth as we know it. The radiation of the sun heats up the ocean, turning a portion of it into steam, releasing large quantities of the water into the atmosphere to create weather patterns that produce various qualities of life throughout the Earth. And we'll finish up there with a look at Table 9. Which looks at the name of the chakras, Mahabindu regions, and the realms of existence that how they affect. So we're going from top down. We'll start at the top with the Sahasrara, or the crown center. And its seed mantra is the AUM with 1,000 petals. And the Ajna Chakra, the Christ center, and center is the Rudra, and its Mahabindu region, sorry, it's the Rudra or the moon. Its Bija or seed mantra is OM, containing 2 petals. And its realm of existence is the perfected or the Tapaloka. Then the next is the Vishuddha or the throat chakra, also belonging to the Rudra or moon Mahabindu region. Its seed mantra is HAM, with 16 petals. And its realm of existence is the casual or Nana Loka, Jana Loka. Next, we have the Anahata, Anahata Chakra, the heart center, belonging to the Vishnu or sun Mahabindu region. Its seed mantra or bija is YAM, containing 12 petals, and its realm is the balance or the Maharloka, and also belonging to the Vishnu Mahabindu region is the Manipura chakra or the solar plexus center. Its seed mantra is RAM, containing 10 petals, and its realm is the subtle or Swaloka. Then we have the Svatisthana chakra or the sex center. Its Mahabindu region is the Brahma or earth. Its seed mantra is VAM, 6 petals belonging to the astral or Bhuvar Loka realm. And then finally, also part of the earth Brahma Mahabindu region is the Muladhara or the base of spine center. Its seed mantra is LAM. 4 petals it contains and belongs to the Bhuv Loka or the physical. Let's see if I have time for a couple more handouts I wanted to look at. Are there any questions or any comments? Anything else you wanted to add, Nehemiah?
On this particular chart, the Mahabhuta's energy switches. I don't know if you noticed that. Conversion points. When they start talking about the regions and the realms of existence, the moon assumes the earth position, which is Rucha, because the moon is really the mental realms. But I think because of this, because of the mass oceans that's on the multiple realms of existence. But in a regular chart, the moon will be examined as, will be seen as Brahma, which stands for that part of the 7 dimensions, divine will imposes those conditions on the mind. But here they switch it in the text and put Brahma at the earth, and because the earth, the realms come from the earth, and Rucha at the moon. Now the earth, because it's the realms of the earth. It's kind of confusing, but when you read more through it, you'll see what it's talking
Yeah,
about.
I did notice that.
Yeah. It's a manipulation of energy. That's what it is.
There are handouts here on the history and knowledge of the Mother Earth. And you had gone into these handouts in your lecture on the Mother Earth and the life cycles and the time cycles. But I think they're
I don't know if I put
beyond the scope of this. I'm sorry?
I don't know if I put that in the collection of diagrams. Did I? I don't think I did.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So let me.
But all of them not there, right?
No, not all of them. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. 6 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. And I think they're outside the scope of what we're talking about today. So yes, I'll leave that for another time then. But do we have any final questions or comments? So this concludes the terrestrial flow. And the next time we'll pick up with the human flow of prana, and this is about several pages. I think we have 2 more Sundays left this month, right? Yeah. So I think we can finish this month. I'll try not to highlight too much because I do want to invite everyone to go back and pick up a copy of the text for themselves and read through it. There's a lot of wonderful information here. And then you can come back and with any questions or comments you have, even if you read the text and you have questions from earlier chapters, that's fine. You can post those and we'll answer those for you, or any questions on any subject matter within the realm of metaphysics and occult science, we'll answer those for you. So are there any final questions or comments? All right, if not, then let's close out. As a reminder, next Friday, we will cover chapters 3 and 4 of 14 Lessons of Yoga Philosophy and Occult. Called what? What's the full title of that again? Oriental Occultism. 14 Lessons in Yoga Philosophy and Occult, Oriental Occultism. That's it. By Yogi Ramacharaka. That will be the spiritual principles, which are the 6th and 7th principle, and the human aura. We'll cover that on Friday, and then next Sunday, we'll look at the human flow. And I'll try to have the handouts and diagrams queued up and ready so I don't waste time searching for them. All right, so let's close out with reciting the New Lord's Prayer. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great great lasting privilege of being a channel so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance and your questions and comments. Look forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful week. Take care.
Thank you so much for the talk. It's good seeing you again.
Oh, hello, welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
How y'all doing? Are y'all in Miami?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are. We actually.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask a personal question about Miami itself. Maybe some y'all haven't even thought about. But how are y'all feeling in dealing with this rising water thing in Miami?
Everybody
They've
learns
been
how to swim.
predicting that.
What do y'all think about it? What do y'all think?
They've been predicting that since
When? Like probably before I was born.
since the 80s. They did a lot. I'm a developer, so I'm a real estate developer. They a community real estate developer.
Uh-huh.
I work with low income families to bring real estate, and they've been predicting that since the 80s. They actually raised a lot of money in the 90s towards it. It's a possibility. I wouldn't say that it's not a possibility because you have the North Pole, a lot of the melting of the water, and the water has rise. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as they think it is, but it's a possibility. In fact, they're asking most people that's building on the coastline to actually raise the, do stilts, houses on stilts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We do have a sea rise that is happening. So it is a possibility. What you live on the close to the water?
No, I actually live in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you live, you inland. You probably don't have nothing to worry about that.
Yeah. So I'm trying to leave, and
Well,
yeah. So I was thinking Florida, and
if you go inland Florida, you probably won't have to worry about it. But
yeah, that's what they're pretty much saying, because they're saying like a lot of them Miami-Dade, all are in the worst zones.
The thing about Florida too, they did a massive canal system, so they can manage the water very well here. There's a huge canal system all over Miami-Dade County, and probably all the way up to Palm Beach. So because at one point, I've been here most of my life, and at one point you had a lot of areas that were just that was swamp areas.
Right.
It's not swamp areas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did the canal system. So, they have a real tight water management system here. So even when Katrina came and flooded the area, they were able to redirect most of that water through the canal system. So that's why we didn't have a problem that like New Orleans did.
Right.
Because the southern part of Florida and the Keys, they are like between 3, 4, and 6 feet above sea level. So, but they was able to manage it because of the canal systems.
Okay. So the canal system helps to kind of alleviate the water.
Yeah, they lower
like redistributing it to someplace else.
Yes.
Yes, man. Good thing.
Because with Katrina, my house actually got flooded, but by the next morning, they because they made a mistake and they thought Katrina was going to come on the north end of Miami when it came on the south end of Miami. But when they realized that, they redirected the water, and all the water drained by daylight. You know, we were out of there. The water, there was no water in our neighborhood. So wherever that drain, so if they can get the right prediction, they can make sure that it doesn't flood in certain areas. All right, then. Thanks for coming.
You are so welcome. So welcome. I will see y'all next time. Thanks for the info.
Okay. DeWin, let me talk to you.